following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network. Through the years, we all remember when we first witnessed a national tragedy.
This is Dan Rather, CBS News in New York, with a special report about what apparently is an explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger this morning, a minute and 12 seconds into the launch.
We remember the good times and the bad times through either a song, a TV show,
just a good old boy, never meaning no harm,
a monumental sports achievement,
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
or even the smell of a particular food from when we were young.
2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
Welcome to the show that will take you on a journey through time to relive those iconic moments. Welcome to RTW Rewind, where old school rules. So, without any further delay, let's introduce you to the host of the show, Rad Rob Francois.
Hey guys, welcome back to RTW Rewind. I am your host, Rad Rob Francois. I hope everybody is doing well all around the world, and thank you for being here. This is episode number 466. I have a very, very special guest this week. He has his own YouTube channel, which is doing pretty well, honestly. He's got about 2.25 million subscribers and growing every single day. He had his own show on Max for 3 seasons called Roadworthy Rescues. He is the everyday man. He is the common man, if you will. One of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, and one of the smartest as well. He is a family man. His family is involved in his channel. I don't know anything about cars, personally, and I've learned a lot by watching this channel. And so much so that my wife is probably going to kick me out of the house because that's all I do is watch their videos. He is the one and only from Vice Grip Garage, Mr. Derek Bieri. Derek, good evening. Thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. How goes it?
Going well, doing well. You're always on the road. You're always busy, so I do appreciate you taking time out to join me tonight.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's always nice to have something to do in the evenings, rewind and unwind and think about the day and the road and everything ahead. So this is great. It works out perfect for me. I got a little bit of downtime before I hit the road tonight. So here we go.
So you were born in rural North Dakota, which I guess mostly all of North Dakota is rural.
Yeah, there's only like 4 trees and they don't get shared very often. We were way up north, Scandinavian, Canadian country. I'm finally losing my Canadian accent. I think I'm starting to pick up more of a southern one, but it took a long, long time. But yeah, out in the middle of nowhere, cows and dirt. That's about it.
So how did you decide you want to get into, tinkering around with cars? Is it something that your dad did or your family did?
Not really. I mean, we were, farmers, ranchers, essentially. And yeah, my dad had some classic cars, and my grandpa not so much. He never really had classics. He was into rebuilding buggies, horse buggies, and things like that, woodworking. Mm-hmm. But I helped my dad. I didn't help. I hindered my dad when I was a kid when he was rebuilding an old Buick. And that kind of sparked something for me. And then as I got older, just out of necessity, just getting to work and school and things of that, you buy one, get it running, run it into the ground, sell it, flip it, get something else, do the same. And I kind of just caught the bug. And here we are today. Lots and lots of junk cars.
How did you transport all the vehicles you had from Wisconsin and Minnesota down to Tennessee? That had to be a daunting task.
Yeah, we sold, I can't even remember how many it was, 60 cars.
Wow.
Gave some away to friends and family, donated a few. Then we shipped a core I think we brought down maybe 30, and we use semi transporters, and they haul 9 to 10 cars depending on length and everything at once. And those are, what people call channel cars. Right. So probably not worth the money we spent shipping them, but it was kind of the character of the channel, right? So Betty White was on their lawsuit when we just worked on the 65 C10, some of those cars. So it was a big expense and a big project, but we got most of them down. Now keep in mind, I still have cars, I think at the moment in 7 or 8 states. Wow. They're just parked, waiting on my schedule to open up to go grab them.
I've noticed that in a lot of your videos, you'll say that I purchased this a year ago, or this sat in Rusty Acre for 3 or 4 years. So I can't imagine how many you must own. Do you know off the top of your head how many you own?
I don't, and it would probably get me in trouble if I got any accurate. My wife would probably be very concerned. I think we guesstimate. It varies and floats between probably 115 to 130, somewhere around there.
Wow, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first car you ever worked on?
Oh boy. Like as a kid or
I would say, it's as a kid.
Yeah, I was probably, I guess I remember seeing a bunch around the farm when I was, very young, but the first one that I actually got to touch and help on was a 1956 Buick Special 2-door hardtop. My dad's car. I still have the car today, actually.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I remember riding around with my dad and grandpa an old Scottsdale pickup. It had a 2-barrel carburetor on it, which most specials did, and the Rivieras had the 4-barrel. And so we went junkyard scouring and things of that nature, and I got to help, take the carb off and swap it over. And I'm sure I was dropping bolts in the intake and doing everything wrong, but it was fun and it was a good memory, and still have the car today.
That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, that's obviously where it all started. So it's pretty neat that you still get to hang on to that. So obviously the price of living in Minnesota in that area is pretty high. Was that a factor in cost in you guys moving into to Southern Tennessee?
It definitely didn't hurt. We had a pretty, we lived okay. I mean, we had a pretty nice house, standard neighborhood, nice school, stuff like that. But yeah, it was very expensive, and then in addition to that, I had a shop that I leased in some guy's backyard. And that's where kind of the YouTube, I started it in my garage, but we moved to that one. Quickly outgrew it. So I leased a farm in Wisconsin, and I used the barn there and sheds on that farm. And that's when things started really picking up. But at that point, we had both the buildings, we had storage units all over the place. We were renting land to just put cars on. And when you start looking at the mortgages and leases and utilities and taxes, it was astronomical.
Yeah.
So then we were like, well, we need to get a commercial building, but we're talking Minneapolis, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 a month for, not very much space.
Right.
And we were fortunate enough, timing wise, we were able to sell very high, and we bought very low in Tennessee, which is no longer the case.
No, God, no. Yeah.
Yeah. Cost of living in Tennessee now is also astronomical. Would be the time to sell. But yeah, we started shopping online, and it's like, you could buy a house with acreage for less than a standard 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Plus no income tax and some other variables. And we're like, yeah, let's go south, and we'll have more room, and we'll have everything under one umbrella, so to speak. And it's worked out great.
Plus you're centralized. Obviously you got, you're close to Atlanta, you're close to, obviously Kentucky is up here, the Memphis area, St. Louis. I mean, we're pretty much, I live in Murfreesboro, which is middle Tennessee. So, you can hit so many points from this state that you obviously couldn't normally hit up north. But I'm sure it makes it a lot easier for you to do shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. I try to involve my kids as much as possible, and they do go to public school, and so that revolves around obviously their spring breaks and vacations and things of that nature and weekends. And it was tough. Like we like to take them on Power Tour, for example. Well, it used to take us 2 days to just get to the start of Power Tour and then do the Power Tour, and so that was pretty difficult. But now, like you said, we can go to pretty much any major car show on any given weekend, if our schedule did allow, and it's not that burdensome. We're kind of, like you said, in the hub of it, so we can get to the Gulf, we can get to the coast, we can get, anywhere in the Midwest.
Right.
Relatively quickly. There wasn't much in Minnesota. You had back to the 50s. You had street nationals, and that was kind of it.
Was it a big culture shock? I mean, I know you've been all around the country, but moving and going to to the South, was it a big difference than living up north? Well, you grew up on a farm, so I mean, it's probably some of the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's Southern nice and there's North Dakota nice, right? So it's like all the people are fantastic, and you always hear like, oh, the people are nicer here or the people are nicer there. But in honesty, I've been all over this country. I've been in every single state except Maine, I think, and everyone is nice. Yeah, everywhere you go. But yeah, it's like just the Southern way is a little bit different. You got to have gravy on everything. You got to have biscuits 5 times a day. These are sodas, not pops. You can't say pop.
Can't say pop.
Yeah. So there's some things that you pick up on. I'm just still trying to get used to the humidity. Going through 4 shirts a day. That's my problem.
Yes, it's pretty rough, especially when you're outside working on vehicles. It's especially in the summertime. It's pretty daunting. I'm originally from Connecticut. My wife was originally from here. So when I moved down here, 20-something years ago, it was a huge, huge difference. I remember the funniest thing she said to me when we first started dating. We went to, she was going to, I want to say it was Chick-fil-A or somewhere, and she asked me what kind of Coke I wanted. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Coke. She's like, do you want Diet Coke? Do you want Sprite? They call everything Coke here. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, I got used to the sweet tea and all that, but calling everything a Coke is just, that just kind of hit me. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I probably gained 100 pounds since I moved here because there's just so much food. It's
food and sugar. You got to have sugar. Yes. Now, the sweet tea here has a syrup in the bottom of it, about an inch deep. You got to like stir it with a knife to even consume it. Yeah,
it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Let's see. What do you remember the first car you ever owned and drove?
Yeah, I drove many cars before I owned one. My dad had I believe it was a Pinto, and then we later used a Yugo. But we had a bunch of sloughs, which is just a smelly body of water out in a pasture. Mm-hmm. And in the winter, we'd have to go out with an axe and chop the ice and make holes in the sloughs so the cattle had water to drink. Well, he'd cut me loose on the car. We'd go out on the ice and he'd throw me in his lap and I'd just start steering it around and he'd just hold it to the floor. And so that's kind of my first driving experience. But the first one I ever owned, operated, was responsible for was a 1974 Chevrolet Cheyenne pickup, orange and silver. And big block turbo 400. Of course, it immediately got straight pipes and,
of course,
and chrome wagon wheels and white letter tires and all that stuff. So it was a good truck.
My first vehicle was a 1978 Monte Carlo, which had a horrible Mako ambassador finish paint job that somebody had repainted. It was like a weird teal green, but man, and like a mint green interior. It was ugly on the inside, but I love that car. I wish I still had that car.
They're cruisers. You hit the bump just right in the front, just keeps keeps going.
And the first car I learned to drive on was actually a 1963 Chevy Nova, Chevy 2.
Oh, nice.
Three on the tree. So that was fun, learning how to drive a manual with the shifter on the column. It was very, very daunting for me.
Yeah, it seems like it's easier to learn. Like Bentley, my youngest, he can drive column now, but I taught him how to drive a H pattern on the floor first. So then when we went to the tree, I said, the shift pattern, just turn it sideways on the column, and you could see the light bulb immediately go off.
Well, he's a smart kid anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty sharp, but it'd be harder, at least for me, to learn the column and then try to transpose that to the floor.
Yeah, it was rough. We had old tobacco fields we used to be able to drive in, so he would just take me across the street, and I'd just go at it and hit a bunch of trees. But no, it was fun. That car was a tank. I mean, it was just solid. They don't build them anymore. I mean, it was all steel. There wasn't a plastic piece on it, and they just don't make them like that anymore.
Hard to hurt them back in those days, that's for sure.
Yes. In fact, one night my dad was coming home from work, and the brakes went out, and we had a slanted driveway, and he just picked the concrete foundation and just plowed it right in between the garage doors. Woke me up. It was about 12:30 at night, and I just dented the bumper. That was it. The car was still intact, but that scared the crap out of me.
Good. Yeah.
But in fact, my favorite car he ever owned was a 1970 LT1 Corvette Stingray. And I got a couple pictures of it, although they're old Polaroids.
Like a medium green?
It's I forgot what the actual blue.
Oh, that's blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's me. I think I was 19 or 20 there, but he had restored it in about 1993. He had plasma coated headers on it. Had little boots there, so I guess the wires didn't get fried from the pipes. But it was fun. It was the first car I learned how to drop an engine, and I worked on it with him. The original heads had cracked, and it sat in the garage for years and years and years. And finally decided, you know what, let's fix the engine. So we did that. Awesome. It was cool working with my dad, because I don't know anything about cars. I still don't know much. I'm learning from watching your educational videos, even though I love the little disclaimer you put at the beginning of each video that I'm an idiot. This is more for entertainment purposes than educational. But I mean, you break it down to where anybody can understand, how to fix, your car, which is, I guess, the whole point, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I try to keep it simple. I mean, end of the day, it's just a mechanical apparatus or machine. And if you can just understand how it's supposed to work, you can figure out a shortcut to make it work. So that's why everyone, when they say, well, I learned a lot from watching your show, it's like, I don't know if it's a good thing, because it might not necessarily be the right way, but we can get it to run at least, at minimum.
You still get the job done, though. Yeah, I mean, it's rough to watch when you're driving a car home and you're like, I got to drive it 800 miles home, and something happens on the road and you got to stop and fix it. I mean, I'm sure that happened to you hundreds of times, but does that make you a little nervous, or do you pretty much, because obviously you could just get a truck and haul it home, but I mean, still you're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, were there any sketchy spots where you just stop running?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened quite a bit. I mean, I always get people come up to me and say, man, it must be scary when you're in the middle of, Death Valley or the deserts or in bad neighborhoods or, reservations or this and that. It doesn't really bother me. If you have decent communication skills and, you're nice, people are always reciprocal and great back. For me, the most terrifying is I don't want to break down to like 7 lanes of traffic, in the middle of wherever. The scary one was that bagged Chevy. I think I drove it mistakenly through like St. Louis or something like that. And I had vapor lock and fuel pump issues, and I broke down in a construction zone. So I'm laying in the freeway in a construction zone with cars flying by, a foot from my legs. And I'm like, this is not good. That to me is more scary than, breaking down in the middle of nowhere. I'll figure out a way, or just sleep it off or walk it off, or, figure something out. But I just don't like the traffic and the pressure of, having to get out of the way and stuff like that. That makes me more nervous.
What is your favorite run and drive that you've done?
Oh, that's really tough. Anyone that involves my children, they're really good core memories for me. And it's more the overall experience. But I have some that really stick out for me, like Independent Chevelle.
Yeah, of course.
That turned into such a, awesome car. But one that I really just was thankful that I could share with everybody and was really peaceful for me was the Model A that I drove back. I can't even remember where it was 750 miles home. But
yeah.
That was one of those moments where I'm 35 miles an hour. There is not a street light, house light, town light, anything in any direction as far as you can see. And I've got 40s music playing on my cell phone and I'm just putting along and everything just felt right. You know, you're just under the stars cruising around. And that was a nice one for me. But they're all pretty fun. It's hard to say which one's better than the other. They all have certain experiences, and by the time you get home, a lot of time I just walk away from the car for a couple of months. I'm like, it was great, but I don't want to see that car for a while.
I like it. I haven't seen all your content because you probably have like 650,000 videos, but I do like watching the run and drives and going back and seeing the ones that you actually follow up on. I think the most recent that I watched was the Polara. Dude, that's a cool car. That really was. I had never seen one before, and you really did a great job on that one, getting it, into showroom shape.
Yeah, that's a juggling act we do. Where I'll do a follow-up video. We post every Friday on Vice Grip Garage there, and some people are like, "How come you didn't do another revival?" And it's like, if I do a revival every week, that's 52 cars a year minimum,
right?
That are stacking up in my yard. And my whole intention is to get them running and driving, yes, but also get them good enough to where we can send them down the road and let someone else, do a restoration or just drive it and enjoy it or whatever.
Sure.
But so I like to kind of bop in and follow up on these. And that Polara was one of them, where it was such a solid car. And I knew there was a lot of potential there. So we kept cleaning and scrubbing and rubbing on it and fixing and dolling it up. And actually, I think we're going to take that one to Mecum next month and just see what happens. I have no idea.
I'm sure, knowing that it was a car, restored by Derek from Vice Grip Garage, that you could probably get a pretty penny for it as opposed to a different car.
Yeah, potentially. And it's not even necessarily like, maximizing profitability. End of the day, it is a business, and we do need to make a little bit so we can reinvest in the business. I have such a hard time selling cars, quite honestly.
Well, they're sentimental to you, right? I mean, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, they are. They're sentimental. It's hard to see them go. It's also hard to get serious buyers that aren't just, kicking tires. And I don't have a day to set aside to show 57 people the same car. Trying eBay didn't really work for me. So Mecum's going to kind of be nice, where I can give it one last pat of the hood and say adios, and I can kind of just detach myself and walk away, and someone else can get a pretty cool car, hopefully,
I've noticed you're kind of a Corvette guy, because you've restored quite a few. Do you have an affinity for them?
I have had and still own many Corvettes. Yeah, I've had, I just love the history of the car and how it changed the car culture.
Yeah.
Huge respect for like the Model A, the Ford Ranchero, the Chevy El Camino, the Ford Mustang, the Chevy Camaro, and Corvette. These are, I call them landslide cars, where it just blew the industry open, where everyone's going, oh my gosh, I need to make something now to compete with this or something. And the Corvette is such a beautiful car. There's never really, I'm not really a huge fan of the C7s or C8s or any of that, but the late 50s to mid 80s, yes, all of that.
Yeah, they kind of lost me in the 90s. I didn't really like some of the design choices that they made, but I obviously I have affinity for the 70s cars since my dad had one. But I just love the look of the Stingray, and it's just such an iconic body shape, and exactly what it is when it goes down the road. It's just they're just, and they're heavy cars too. I didn't realize all that fiberglass makes it really, really heavy.
Everything kind of got weird in the 90s. I mean, Firebirds were in, Camaros in, Mustang looked like eggs, F-150s looked like eggs. Dodge really went out on a limb. I mean, really the only pickup left in the 90s was the Chevrolet. You know, everything. Everyone was kind of taking big gambles and rolling the dice. And it took me until probably 2002 or 2003 to really, you know, be like, okay, they're back. They're actually making stuff that looks pretty good, you know.
I was always, it was funny. Like I was an Oldsmobile guy. I was a Pontiac guy. I had a couple Grand Ams growing up. I had an Oldsmobile Intrigue, which I really, really liked. But then they went out of business. I'm like, well, what do I do now? I'm not really a fan of the newer Chevys or Fords. So I became a Mopar guy. But watching your channel, what is it about Mopar that you're not truly thrilled about? You just kind of rag on them whenever you get a chance.
No, it's honestly, I just like poking fun. I mean, if you watch long enough, you notice when I'm working on a Ford, I'll tease Chevy, and I'll give accolades to Fords. If I'm working on a Mopar, I'll tease them about this and that. But every make and model, I mean, I've done everything from Packards to Nashes to Chrysler, Mopar, you know, Chevy, Ford. If it's cool, unique, and has a story, and it's a pushrod engine, I am all in. I'm there. I've got a Volkswagen sitting in my garage right now, you know. And it's interesting to learn, you know, like the different ignition systems. And then you start to understand, well, this was patented, so they had to go out here and figure this out. And maybe this is an advantage over this, but this might be a disadvantage. You know, they all have their perks. And I get coined as a GM guy, but if you walk through my collection, it would be really hard, I think, when you leave to go, yeah, he's just a bow tie guy, because I have everything under the sun. And I enjoy them all, you know.
Yeah, I would have coined you or penned you as a GM guy too, just because of how many restorations you've done. But I just thought it was funny that you're always talking about Mopar. But no, you're right. You do kind of tease all the different makers and models. But obviously, there are some engines that they didn't make great choices with, and there's a lot of parts that are hard to get to, and it can be frustrating. I'm sure.
From you know, my daily driver right now is a 93 F-150, and I'm enjoying it immensely. But there are some disadvantages to like Ford, albeit they've, you know, obviously they had the best-selling truck for many, 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 many years. But from a proctor standpoint or a teacher standpoint, it's hard to tell somebody like, yes, go get a Ford for your first engine to learn, because the parts interchangeability is a nightmare. Yeah, there's a lot you have to understand, and the different block sizes and the different differentiations there, and that's why I tend to tell people, you know, go find an LA Chrysler or go find a small block Chevy, because anything and everything goes on anything and everything, and it's parts galore, right? And they're hard to mess up. So that side, I will honestly tell people that, but once you understand how a pushrod motor works, you can apply it to anything from a Turbo International tractor to a Volkswagen Beetle. They're all the same.
That's true. No, that is true. I liked the, what was it, a wooden Lamborghini that you worked on? I had never, ever heard.
Yeah.
That was weird. How did you end up getting a hold of the, how do you find these cars?
That one I just found scrolling through the Space Marketplace, and I saw Lamborghini like $2,400 or something. I was like, well, clearly that's $240,000.
Right.
I don't even know what they're worth. I kind of looked again, and I'm like, is it $24,000? I'm like, well, that's hundreds. I can afford that. And I got a hold of the guy, and he's like, yeah, I don't even know if it's street legal or roadworthy, and it has a run and all this stuff, and it needs work. And I'm like, perfect. I'll be there tomorrow, you know, with cash.
Right.
But that thing was, everyone assumed it was a Fiero, including myself, but it's actually two front ends of Berettas welded together.
Wow.
So the front end steers because it's the front end of a Beretta, but then they just hacked the front end of another one off and welded it to the other one.
Yeah.
So the rear of that car still has the rack and pinion, the tie rods, everything. they just booger welded it closed or shut or tight or whatever. But that was a terrifying drive home in that one for sure.
The other terrifying was that mid-engine car that you took home. Holy
yeah.
cow. I don't know how you didn't die of carbon monoxide poisoning. I know you had a little meter there, but that was scary for me to watch.
That was the first one that I stopped due to concern for my own health, which I usually have a lack thereof. But I think I was trying to go through a drive-through somewhere for food, and I started getting nauseous and puking and this and that. And I'm like, boy, this flu is coming on really quick. And that's when I realized I had carbon monoxide poisoning, and obviously that is not something to mess with.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I shut that down, and that night in the motel, I bought the sketchiest ramp truck I could find, and got that running, and ended up hauling that one home. And I still have that car because it's too dangerous to sell.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Have you thought about can you even put a decent firewall in that car?
It's basically a shell of a body, so they made a homemade frame.
Yeah,
everything is around. Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to return it to a stock car at this point.
So you couldn't even put the engine in the front compartment at this point.
Basically it's a parts car, but I don't want to take it apart because I can still move it around, and I can't sell it. So it's something that's going to go on the Vice Grip Garage Auto Museum as just a weird, oddity car, and it'll sit there and people can enjoy it, and that way it's not hurting anybody, and I don't have to worry about selling it, and people can see it.
That's rough. Yeah, no, and I watch Vice Grip Lodge as well, so I'm following along with the building in the museum. What's your date or any planned date for opening that?
We're trying for the end of September. And right now we have our biggest hurdles is parking, and we're, obviously just the expense of it all. It was tremendously higher than I had anticipated. So now we're slowly working through the electrical, heating and cooling and plumbing aspect. And then we could start applying for our business licenses, and then we got to figure out parking. But September is kind of our goal. And we hope to have all the doors open and a full lot of it's going to be all the most bizarre and iconic cars that I've done over the years. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to take a trip down and see that. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm sure people get excited for seeing, when you do car meets and all that, bringing some of the cars like the Independence. I'm sure people love seeing the stuff that they've seen on the show because they're like, oh, I remember that one. So, that's kind of cool that people get to see your collection, and that's I'm sure it'll be very popular. Did you ever? Yeah, it'll be fun. Did you ever expect the kind of success that you had with this channel when you first started?
No, I didn't. I had a successful career, and I was pretty darn good at what I did, and it just turned into a thing where my hobby started taking precedence, I guess. I enjoyed my hobby more than my career, if that made sense. And, this sounds crazy, but, I basically wore a tie every day and slacks and dress shoes and nice watches, and was in meetings and board meetings and flew all over. And then I'd come home and throw coveralls on and wrench till 2 a.m. and then scrub my nails and then repeat, right? Well, it just got to the point where it's like, I really enjoy working on old defunct cars more than what I'm doing during the day. And one day I just pushed all the chips on the table and sold all the business stuff and just walked away from it and just said, we're going to do cars. It's going to work or it's not going to work, and we'll figure it out. I
cannot picture you working in an office behind a desk. I just
no one can. It just doesn't fit, right?
It doesn't, right?
That's how it felt. Yeah,
you just seem more at home doing what you do now. It's just it's natural for you.
Yeah, it definitely feels like I'm on the right path, and it's very rewarding to me hearing other people say, like you mentioned, I've learned some things, and some people have said you've helped me during a tough time in my life or a family crisis, or I've reconnected with my father because of you, or my daughter hangs out with me more and we have a better family. That's the stuff that is, for me mentally, I put in my trophy case, if you will, of it's not the builds, it's touching people's lives and making changes. And that's also my fire that gets me up early and runs me all the way till night, is knowing that we're doing more than just car stuff.
Right. Right. And that has to make it rewarding, just hearing people's stories. And you're very accessible to the fans. You're very, no one's ever had a bad word to say about you, at least not publicly. But you seem to really enjoy just engaging with the everyday person.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, end of the day, we're all doing the same thing, and we're blessed to wake up on the right side of the grass. And if we can go have fun with cars and get our friends and family involved, and what's better than that?
True.
And share these stories. And the car is more just a vessel or a communication piece, right? I mean, you can walk up to a car and have never met a person and have one of the best 30-minute conversations you've ever had in your life at some random gas station in Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah.
And the car is the reason for it, not a candy bar or something like that. It's the car. So that's what I like about them.
And then having your kids involved, it's cool. It's always cool to see Bentley, helping you fix a car. And, we saw this recent video with Bradley. And I mean, that's stuff that you can take for the rest of your life. He'll have that footage to remember you, God forbid, if anything ever happens. I mean, it's cool to have those memories, recorded for time. And anybody can relate to that has kids too. It's got to be some of the best stuff you've done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, selfishly, it's documentation for me, right? So it's how do you store all these memories? And I don't even know how we're going to store photos in the future. We tried to have photo albums and all that stuff, but now we could just put it on the interwebs, and hopefully it lives there for a long time. And like you said, my boys can always quickly go back and say, "Oh, look at this road trip," or "Look at this," or some of the earliest videos. It's astonishing to me. I'll go back and look at my kids and I'm like, they're only 3.5 feet tall. And then my wife has to remind me, well, yeah, they were 5 there or 4 there. And they were in the garage, dusk mask on, helping me vacuum out a car or whatever. And now today they're getting ready to drive them, which is just mind blowing. So
my daughter will be 7 this year. And I don't even know where the last 7 years have gone. It's so weird to me. She's in kindergarten now. Mm-hmm. She's graduating next month. It's like, man, it is true. The older you get, like, time just seems to fly by. I'll be 49 this year, and I don't know. I don't act like I'm it, but I try to be a young kid, especially with my daughter. But it is funny to watch them grow up. And just wonder, man, like, how do we get this far? It's crazy.
Yes.
And it's sad too, because I want to keep her as small as I can for so long. And it's just, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for the teenage years.
It's a running joke. I always tell my boys that parents are allowed to take away one birthday. So every year when they have a birthday, I'm like, no, you're not 13 this year. I'm going to take it away. You're going to be 12. And they're like, yeah, that's not fair.
Right.
But yeah, it's when you're young, you want everything to speed up and you want to hurry up and be 18 and 21 and 30. And then as we get older, it's like, man, if I could have 5 days at 25 years old, that I could set this world ablaze.
Yes. If you knew then what you know now, right? It's just like, ooh, it'd be dangerous. It'd be dangerous. Yeah. I also love the fact that you have a family friendly show and that I can watch it with my daughter and anybody else. Like, was that just a conscious decision you made, or is it just your morals and upbringing? I mean, what kind of factored into that?
Yeah, it was just several things came into play there. Like my grandmother Rosie, bless her heart, you would never raise your voice or use foul language. No one dared, not neighbors, not passerbyers, right. Nobody. And it's funny watching my adult uncles when I was a kid. They're in their 30s and they would sneak beer into the house and like hide it in the basement fridge because grandma couldn't see, and right. It's like, but then as you get older, like I just appreciated when other adults would use good language around my children because I didn't want them exposed to that.
Right.
So I just try to create content in a way that I would appreciate and respect that content. It's kind of a give and get thing. So I slip up every now and then? Absolutely. We're all human, but I camera on, camera off, do my absolute best to not use foul language. There's got to be a better word out there than an F-bomb or something.
Well, you've invented quite a few of your own. I mean, your vernacular is on camera is quite different than most people. How'd you come up with I call them Derekisms, but how did that start? Is that something you did just for the channel, or is that something you just added to everyday life?
Yeah, there's a couple things there. Quite honestly, one of them, "I'll be dipped." I took that from my grandfather, but his was "I'll be" and then a swear word, and I thought, I can't use that, so I changed it up. But it's like some of it was just out of necessity of how do I explain this part? I may not know the right way to explain it, so like I'm just going to call it a lightning hose, and people are going to figure it out. And it sends obviously lightning or electricity.
Sure.
That's what this thing does. Instead of explaining resistance and ohms and impedance and expedance and the different layers of ignition wire, let's just call it a lightning hose,
It works for me. So, I mean, I'm sure it helps a lot of people figure it out too.
Yeah. So I just tried to be funny and to the point, and some of it just the things that I have Tourette's a little bit and ADHD. And ADD, and I was dropped a lot as a kid, probably. I'm not really sure. Love you, Mom. But I yell weird things. I say weird, I don't know why. They just pop in my head, and some of them just stick. Some of them I never repeat, and that's just, you see what you see, I guess.
I love it. Moses sandals! Like, when I first heard that, I'm like, I've never heard that before. But I mean, it's funny. It is funny stuff, and you're very funny. You're very charismatic. I have a similar sense of humor to you and there's a lot of things I find funny that my wife doesn't. But it's just like, it's the dry wit. It's so much fun to watch. Like, I'm so happy that the carburetor came back and it started working. No, it didn't. Like, that's just funny. To me, that's hilarious. And that's just stuff that I do too. Like, I've got a plan. No, I don't. I mean, is that always a sense of humor that you had?
That's just the way, I guess I was just born sarcastic,
right.
And that's Bentley is just like me. He has the same gene where he'll have a 5-minute conversation and then all of a sudden you figure out that he's just being sarcastic and dramatic. And then he'll just kind of look at you and you're like, you little stinker. But then, my wife will chime in. I wonder where he gets that from.
I was going to say, I'm sure you get blamed for that plenty of times, but... And he's got a great head of hair too. That kid's, I'm telling you, it makes me jealous. I don't have hair anymore, but man, that kid's got a good head of hair, and he's so smart. He's got the Little Grip Garage now. He's got his own YouTube channel. Is that something he just decided he wanted to do one day?
Yeah, he was helping me quite a bit, and then I just started handing over, like a lawnmower that sat, in the off season, and I'd say, this doesn't start. What would be the reasons? And he would say, well, compression, valve timing, fuel, and ignition. And I said, well, go figure this one out.
Yeah.
And then he started, what's this green stuff in the carburetor? He'd take it apart. And first few didn't go very good, but he picked up on it and he really enjoyed it. So now everything needs an engine swap. Everything needs tires. Everything needs exhaust, But he's catching on really quick, and he's a good hand helping out as well. I mean, we do property chores, things like that. He can jump in a tractor, move it around, things like that. So, and that's how I grew up, and I'm glad that I'm able to give him the opportunity or the palate to do that, I guess, you know what I mean? And he seems to be having a lot of fun at it. I just hope that he is still willing as he gets older to go flip some burgers or pour concrete or really get his hands dirty and experience a real job, because although YouTube is a lot of work, it's different than doing trim work in a house or painting or putting tires on or something like that. But that's a problem for another day.
Sure. No, absolutely. My daughter was watching, I forgot what car it was. It was he went on you with the trip and you guys drove home, and she's like, where's this iPhone? Where's this tablet? I'm like, and we made a mistake. Like, we're never going to give her an iPhone or a tablet or anything to play with. And we broke within the first few years. But obviously, watching him drive home, you guys are just shooting the breeze, talking, sharing stories and all that. He doesn't have to have a phone or tablet in his hand. It was shocking to her because that's what she's used to, but that's how I grew up. And I'm sure obviously that's how you grew up too. We didn't have that stuff back then. And I like the fact that you've let your kids just kind of learn how to do stuff around the house and around the farm and around the yard and not have to be controlled by, a cell phone or a tablet. It's refreshing to see.
Yeah, I guess when when I was young, I'd say, "Daddy, I'm bored." He'd say, "Look out the window and tell me what you see." And I'd be like,
"Right."
It'd only take a couple minutes. What's that big thing back there? Well, that's a combine. Well, what's a combine? Well, it's this, and this is what it does. How does that work? So it's just, trying to provide opportunities to have those conversations, and we do pretty good with it. And they do have some electronic stuff now as they're getting older, but we try to definitely limit it. We grew up without it. You're not going to die.
Sure.
Not having it.
I had a tennis ball and a baseball glove, and I'd go outside and play for 15 hours. I mean, back then you didn't have to worry about it. It's just so you can go down the street on your bike and see your friends, and you don't have to worry about come home before supper. That's all you had to do. It's just, unfortunately, it's not that way anymore. But
no.
I do miss those days because nowadays, you don't know who's out there. It's scary, especially with putting yourself out on YouTube and all that and putting your family out there. I'm sure there's risks. You don't want to give away too much information, but I'm sure it's just kind of a line you've had to walk, right?
Yeah, we've definitely had some different experiences in our life that, people say, well, it comes with the territory, but you don't really think about that when you're just a guy that takes a cell phone to a door and you fast forward a decade and you have things happening or certain circumstances, and other people say, well, you must have known, you signed up for this, and it's like, no, I didn't really know, I guess. Call me naive or whatever, but yeah, it's a different time and place, that's for sure. Absolutely.
What is it about Fram that you don't like?
So I get asked that one a lot. Any oil filter today is better than any oil filter in the 60s and 70s.
Sure.
Including Fram. But I am a kind of a geek or a nerd. So if you just look at, and same with oils, if you look at technical data sheets, they have to tell you publicly what's in motor oils, for example. Well, you can do the same with oil filters. Just cut one open and stretch out the actual filter part of it and stretch it out and look at the quality and stretch out another one next to it and look at one's going to be 3 times as long. Why? There's more filter element in it. It's a better filter. And Fram just seems to be, on the cheaper end, and they don't provide a lot of quality material in the filter. And the argument is always, well, I've been using Fram for 37 years and never had a problem. Well, if your motor hasn't blown up, that's great, but that doesn't mean you have never had a problem unless you actually measure your bearing clearances and cut filters open and strain and, put that material under a microscope. You're never going to know what is actually happening, right? And I've used Fram before, and I've used all sorts of stuff, but those are kind of things that I try to teach people, that be aware. Just be aware of what you're buying and read up on some of this stuff. And for example, a guy just did some sort of chemical analysis on diesel oil and said it's bad for gas engines. Well, everyone's panicking now and taking that out of context. He was talking about high compression, low tolerance fuel injected gas engines, where I have recommended it in the past for flat tappet cam carbureted low compression engines. Right. Completely different elements, right? And that recommendation is based on the chemical composition of the oil itself, phosphorus, zinc, things like that. So, just people got to be in the here and know and do some research sometimes,
I was confused when you were pouring diesel engine into an old carburetor, but I mean, as you explained, it's got dinosaurs and vitamins, and I was okay with that.
Yep. All the science and wizards you need.
Are you ASC certified? Did you actually go to school for any of your training, or you just learned it on your own?
School of Hard Knocks.
Oh, good for you. God bless you. That's
just learned all the ways to do it wrong, and
Right.
learned a couple ways that it might work, and just tried to squirrel those away. And I am, like I just mentioned, I do really go ahead first into just technical manuals and how things work, and really read up on how ignition coils work, and do they really create electromagnetic fields? Yes, they do. And how does that work? And
right.
I just go into these rabbit holes sometimes, and that's how I got my education. And I probably could not pass an ASC certified course, but I could get to the same result
Right.
at the end of it. So
Have you tried working on newer cars with all the electrical parts and the computers? And I mean, I can imagine that's a lot to get into.
Yeah, I haven't, just because the opportunity's never really presented itself. It would be weird for me to be like, today we're pulling a 2019 Camry out of a tree row. And,
Right.
so, will it happen? It will eventually happen.
It has to, right? At some point. I mean, might as well try it at least.
Another 15 years, that'll probably be the case. I think I could probably figure it out. The patience needed to do the electrical work and understanding all of that. And I think it would be pretty dry to watch that. We've got a
Agreed.
open connection here, and this normally closed is now open. We've got a short here. Well, that could be days of troubleshooting wiring and trying to make that fun and entertaining for someone to sit down and watch with the family. I just see that as a challenge. There's nothing mechanical or parts being moved or
that's a good point.
Things like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. It could be a million different things why this sensor went out, or I mean, you got to put it in the computer and find out what's wrong with it. I can't imagine that would be entertaining to watch. I mean, maybe seeing you get frustrated at it would be fun to watch, but the actual technical part would. I can imagine it wouldn't be fun at all to watch. So. I know we're up against the clock here. I did have a little fun segment, a little game show to play. Would you be able to hang on for that? Or okay?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So I thought I'd do something fun for our last segment, and it's based on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game. It's Who Wants to Be a Mechanic. Just some funny questions to ask, and something entertaining that I don't think anybody else has done. So. I put a bunch of work into that, so let me share the screen here. Share audio. All right, let's get this thing rolling here.
Oh, this is good.
I'm a technical nerd. I'm kind of a video nerd, so I'm the same way with stuff like this in production than you are with cars. So
okay, yeah. I feel like I should have spun around in the chair there.
All right, here are the rules of the game. There are 10 questions. Each question will have 4 multiple answers. There's only one correct answer per question. You are allowed one lifeline, which is call an O'Reilly's. Which we're going to do with our last question. We will call a random O'Reilly's Auto Parts store and read the question to multiple choice answers to the associate that answers the phone, or the poor guy that happens to answer the phone, to see if they can suggest the correct answer. If all 10 questions are answered correctly, you will win the show and you will be a mechanic. Are you ready to go?
Okay.
All right, let's get rolling. Here's our first question.
Oh, I have to answer all this. Okay.
All right. What is the correct oil filter to use? Wix, Purelator, Fram, or Valvoline?
Oh, this is tough. I would say that there's 3 really good filters you have on here. The old Purolator is incredible. By the way, have you seen their classic hats?
I
Really
have.
nice.
I have.
Yeah. Valvoline's a great oil filter in oil, but I got to go with the Wix. Wix all the way.
Is that your final answer?
That's final answer.
All right. There we go. I hit the wrong button. Oh, you are correct.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next level. Messing around. Up to level 2. The questions will get tougher as we go along.
Okay.
Question number 2. I love the dramatic music. What Derekism is used for an alternator? Charging whirler, charging station, charging McCharger, or charging thingy?
Ooh. Well, this also depends on the altitude you're in and the day of the week. Charging thingy is it is a chargy thingy. But it is a charging whirler. It does also whirl. It's got a fan on it. I'm going to say charging whirler, final answer.
All right. That is correct. Congratulations, Derek.
Yes.
We're 2 for 2. We're moving on to the next round, which is learning stuff. Okay. Now I'm getting nervous. Question number 3. What does Derek say when he's shocked by something? Moses sandals, Peter's piper, Holy Christmas, or Jumpin' Jiminy? This is kind of an easy one.
Well, again, all of these, they could be applicable.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, let's go with Moses sandals.
Moses sandals. Of course, you're correct.
Yeah.
That was kind of a softball one. It's hard coming up with questions, I'm telling you. I'm just level 4 is feller. Or fellette, whichever. We can't discriminate. All right. What does Rotella have in it? Dinosaurs and vitamins, green chili peppers and tomatoes,
Ooh.
Flintstone vitamins, nutrients and stuff.
Wow. I just got hungry for Mexican food. Well, Flintstone is Ice Age technically, and nutrients and stuff, that's very scientific and accurate. But I'm going to say dinosaurs and vitamins.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
Dinosaurs and vitamins. Will he be correct? You are correct, sir. Congratulations. You're on a roll. We are moving on quickly to level 5. This is where it gets a little bit tougher. Mechanic dish.
I could see this test at Wyotech.
That's number 5. What is the most popular saying from Derek? I'll be dipped. Would you look at that? You gotta be kidding me. Or ain't that something?
That's something. This is a t-shirt, so I got this one. It's I'll be dipped.
I'll be dipped. I knew you were gonna say, I don't know who put these together, but that's kind of an easy one. But I'll be dipped is correct. Congratulations, Derek. We are halfway through the game.
I'm half a mechanic.
You are half a mechanic. You're mechanic-ish. Next one is tire cover. Come on. There we go. Next question. What does Derek say when he's not going to do something? I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to have to pass on that. There's no way I'm doing that. Or no way. Safety first. What do you say when you're not going to do something?
I'm going to do the right thing.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. That's something I would have said too. And that's all. Look, in all funny, in all seriousness, that's one of my favorite lines that you say. I'm going to do the right thing instead of putting in new brake wires or running, new cables.
Yeah, just ignore it. Yeah,
we're going to pretend we didn't see that.
Yeah,
right. I'm going to do the right thing. Is correct. That's another easy one. Level 7, breaking stuff. My clicker doesn't want to click. All right, our next question. When Derek has a great idea, what does he say? If it works, is it really a dumb thing? This is a genius idea. There's no way this can be a bad idea. Or even if I'm wrong, am I right?
This is also a T-shirt, so it has to be. If it works, is it really a dumb thing?
Which I love. I'm really going to have to fire my producer for these are too easy. This is way too easy for you. But if it works, is it really a dumb thing? Is your final answer?
Come on, drum roll, baby.
With the anticipation, just breathe a little bit. Just maybe it's not right. Maybe. How well do you actually know yourself, Derek?
I'm getting nervous here. This is quite the bill. Oh,
there you go. You are correct. We are 3 more questions away. Next level is Wrench Monkey.
Okay.
All right, Derek. Which Derekism is used for carburetor? Really? Did you?
Gas doohickey.
Gas doohickey could. I mean, honestly, that could. We got fuel make it happener. Gas doohickey, fuel messing arounder.
Oh.
Make the car goer.
Fuel messing arounder sounds nice. But it is fuel make it happener. Final answer.
Will Derek be moving on to the next round?
I don't know how to do drum rolls.
I don't either. You seem pretty confident with that answer, though.
Yeah, make it happen. There we go.
You are correct. God, this should have been the first question. That's probably your most used word, because I'm sure most of the work you do is with a carburetor.
It is, yeah.
But it's definitely the fuel make it happener. All right, we are 2 questions away from you becoming a mechanic. Pressure is definitely it's not on. This is pretty easy, but it's just for fun. We are in the greaser level. What does Derek call weight reduction? Holes in the vehicle, missing lunch, missing engine parts, or missing passengers?
Missing lunch. I never miss lunch. Kidding me?
You can tell.
Let's see. Holes in the vehicle. Rust is weight reduction.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
Derek picks holes in the vehicles. Which, I mean, obviously, any of these answers could actually be weight reduction.
Yes, they could, technically.
This suspense is killing me. I really programmed this to go way too long. You are correct, Derek. Weight reduction are holes in the vehicle. Moving on to our final round.
Do I get a fan or anything? Like a patch?
No. We're on a very.
Okay.
You think you're on a low budget with your restorations? We are on a. We don't even have shoestrings. It's not even a shoestring budget. Anyway.
I can respect them.
Our final question. What does Derek use to start the vehicle without the key? The Lone Wolf 6000, the Chargulator 4000, the Propulator 3000, or the Postulator 9000?
Oh.
Now, this is where we're going to call up an O'Reilly's. What state would you like us to find? Who do you think would have the best chances of answering this question?
If you were to call, do I get to pick the store?
Sure, you can pick the store too if you have a particular one.
No, let's not do that. Well, maybe we should. Call. I don't know. I'm gonna let you pick. Pick a random one.
All right, let's.
Are you talking to him or am I talking to him?
We both can talk. I was going to introduce them and let them know what's going on, and you can say hey. But let's go. Well, let's just pick Tennessee. That should make it easy. Actually, there we go. Tennessee. 209 stores in Tennessee. No kidding. Let's go. Let's go Lewisburg then. Why not?
Okay.
All right. Let me put the number in here.
Let's see. What is today? Saturday?
Yeah. Do you know who's working tonight?
It's Nash. Uh-oh. 3 rings, no answer.
Are they still open?
It should be for another hour. Must be hopping.
Thanks, O'Reilly.
Hey, this is Rad Rob. I'm actually doing a podcast right now with Derek Bieri. We're playing a game show called Who Wants to Be a Mechanic? We're on the final question, and I wanted to read it to you and ask you if you knew Derek and if you knew what he would actually say. That's something you got a second for?
No, sir.
No, sir. All right.
Oh no!
That
was Ben. I'll tease him tomorrow.
Yeah, make sure you do that. All right. I didn't expect that to happen. Let's not go with Tennessee. Let's pick. Let's see. We'll do Pigeon Forge. They can't be that busy right there. It's touristy. That was unexpected. I might have to edit that out.
No, I cannot help you.
No, I'm not, and I refuse to help you. 047. All right, there we go. We'll try one more.
I have to give you props. This is a very interesting idea.
I appreciate that. I tried to do something that nobody else has done. So. Wow, they're just slammed at O'Reilly's.
This is the place. Great parts, great people.
All right, well, that worked out well. All right, Derek, we cannot rely on a lifeline, so I'm going to have you... Dang it, I really expected something big.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's fine. It's live. What they say, it's live TV, right? It's just the way it happens. So, what would you use? What is a Derekism for starting the car without a key? A Propulator 3000, a Postulator 9000, a Chargelator 4000, or a Lone Wolf 6000?
If you put this into Google, it gives you the answer. Did you know that?
No, get out of here. Really? Hold on. I'm going to
type in Lone Wolf 6000. I think they sell them on Amazon as a starter trigger.
Gotta be kidding me.
And O'Reilly.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Lone Wolf 6000 at Amazon.
So it is the Lone Wolf 6000.
Well, you can't argue with Google, so Lone Wolf 6000.
Come on.
That's amazing. You've gone... You're pop culture now. I mean,
it's bizarre and a blessing, yes.
That's amazing. It really is. This may take a second. I can't believe he didn't want to help us. It's fine.
You guys gonna go home, and I got called by a podcast today. I panicked. I didn't know what to do.
It's like this guy was prank calling me. He didn't have Derek on the phone. You are correct.
Yes.
Derek is Lone Wolf 6000. You are the winner of the game. You are the winner of life. You are an official mechanic. That's probably
Officially a mechanic.
You are officially a mechanic. Come on, computer. Okay, we're not going to get this. Okay, we're done. I appreciate being a good sport and playing along with.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I know you put a lot of work into that. That was really fun. That was cool.
I did try, and make sure you give Ben a hassle next time you see him because.
I will tease him. He's like, "Were you prank?" He's gonna say, "Were you prank calling me?" I'm like, "No, it was real, man."
It was real. You can tell him where to watch the videos. You know what? I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to leave it in so he can watch it. But
there you go.
So you have a lot going on. Obviously, they can find out where you're going to be on your website. Go ahead and promote your socials, your website. I know you have an appearance in Atlanta coming up. Was it May 3rd?
Yeah, that's C10s in the city. The events tab over at vicegripgarage.com. You can keep up on our schedule, and everything is Vice Grip Garage. So the face space is Vice Grip Garage, Instaletter is Vice Grip Garage, and the movie maker picture flick thing over on the tubes is also Vice Grip Garage. And thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad. You're welcome, and thanks for coming on. I know you're super, super busy. I did hold you over the allotted time we have, but look, man, you're the real deal. You are as friendly and cordial and nice as people see on TV, and I can't thank you enough for your time. I'd love to get down and see the museum, what you got once you have it open. So,
absolutely,
it was really a blast having you on. I've learned honestly, I've learned a lot that I literally know nothing about cars other than I can change the oil. Like everything I learned from my dad was 30 years ago. I probably forgot half of it, but watching your channel and seeing how you break things down and go through them actually kind of jogs the old hamster on the wheel to start running again.
Yeah,
and
cool.
it's fun to watch. It's my new obsession. I've gone down the rabbit hole and I watch you every single day. And it's
well,
really, I was nervous to start with. The opening of the show was pretty horrible, but I think we worked it out. I think we had a good program, so it was fun.
No, this was great. It was awesome. It was a good time. Again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. So, well, have a great night. And
yeah, you too.
Again, good luck with your channel and hopefully you'll reach 5, 10, 20, 50, 60.8952 million subscribers and
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
However you do that.
I do appreciate it, man. But thanks for coming on and I'll stay in touch with you.
Okay, sounds good, man. Take care.
Thanks, Derek. All right, there you go. Another edition of RTW Rewind in the books. Thank you again to Derek Bieri from Vice Grip Garage for being here. I'm very humbled. He was very gracious with his time. He had to get on the road actually and go from Northern Tennessee back home to Southern Tennessee. And thanks to Jessica, his wife, for letting me have him for over an hour. And thanks for Derek being a good sport when it came to the game show. Didn't quite work out as well as I hoped. Hopefully he gives the guy from O'Reilly's a hung up on us a talking to. But again, I learned a lot talking to Derek tonight, as I learn each and every episode that I watch of his. And even if you're not a car guy, I suggest just watch his channel, Vice Grip Garage. You'll definitely learn something. You'll probably get hooked like I did. He's just a genuine guy, and it shows through his videos. And that's kind of what attracted me to him, and his sense of humor and his personality is so much like my own. But what a good chat. I hope to have him on again. But in any event, follow him on the socials at Vice Grip Garage. You can follow me on X and Instagram at RadRobGaming. You can also follow the show on X at RTW Brand and at RRR Network. On X is Rad Rob Radio Network. You can check out my other podcast, which drops every week on the audio feeds or streams live on our YouTube channel, Straight Up 5 Podcast. It's Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr., my bowling show, that we're about 160 episodes into that as well. So, and that actually is my most popular podcast, which is never thought that would happen. But it absolutely is a fantastic show. So, thanks everyone for tuning in and joining us. I'm not sure when I'll be back. I'm trying to get this feed or this show rolling again. This was the first show that I ever started way back as a wrestling show, the Rad Turtles Wrestling Podcast, which morphed into a comedy show and then a retro show and then no show at all. It's fine. It's fine. I plan on doing more with my limited time. But no, thanks again to Derek. And thank you, everyone, for watching this. I will see you next time. Good night, everybody. Good night. What? I'm so used to streaming. It's like, good night, everybody. No, this is YouTube. I'm not live. It could be daytime when people watch. Good night, everybody in Australia. I gotta go. I don't know how to end a show anymore. I mean, that's what I never really did before. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of RTW Rewind. For all the latest news and announcements, please follow us on Twitter at RTW Brand. You can also follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. You've been listening to RTW Rewind exclusively here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.